Okay, I got the front rocker panel is just kind of roughed in. I mean the front cowl piece. And then I got the piece going under the door. I cut out the rotted part in the back and I rolled another piece of sheet metal in the back over there. And that's kind of tacked in everywhere. Got the door jamb. New door jamb piece is in. There's the pin. There's the inside piece. And what this was, here's the floor. And then I welded this piece here all along the floor from the front all the way to the back, behind the door. And then this piece here just goes from the front cowl piece, has the same curve as the outside door. When the door's closed, that matches. And then I connected the two with a piece up there and down there. Now what I got to do here is underneath the door jamb on this side, on the hinge side, is rotted off, so I got to extend that down to there. Then I got to make a piece here and to come up to be kind of like this. So when the door's closed, you can put the weather stripping in there. So it'll have this step. As you can see, it goes all the way down. Now I got to put the step down here and across there, and then where it comes up to there, to extend that down and put the step and weld it all in, seal it, paint it up, and that should do that. And again, there's the inside of the door. Okay, I cut this part up pretty flat, and what I do is I made a template out of paper to get an idea of something that would fit in there, kind of like that, just a rough fit. Because what I want to do is I want to block that off with metal, then build this piece up, and still have the step here for the door here to close against. So I took that and I cut out a piece of metal, left it just a hair longer because that's going to be the outside edge. I can always grind that to match the curve of the body. Okay, here's all the little pieces that I cut up from templates, welded together to try to rebuild this little area in here. Now this is the bottom, here's the door jamb. This is the lower bottom of the door jamb. So this is going to go in there like that, and it's going to sit pretty much like that. Okay, now it's going to be, it'll be welded like along in here, and then down along the back side, down on the bottom. Now this being the lower part of the rocker arm, and this gap right here has to be filled, plus this gap right here. Now originally what they had was a piece of metal that just came down over and rolled around the edge, and they just spot welded it on this face here. So what I may do is just take a piece of sheet metal and put it here, roll it right all the way down to this edge, and have a right angle bend on it, and put some holes in it, and just hit it with the MIG welder. So basically I'm spot welding it to this piece here, and then I'll just go along this edge and weld it there and grind it up. Okay, now let me close the door. See what that looks like. And there we got a gap. Before this gap was closed up. So what I'm going to do is just trim it just a hair more to try to keep the same gap along the door line. I mean, yeah, it's a rat rod, and I may be doing more work than I need, but I just want it to be like a halfway between a rat rod and conventional rod. So that's it. So we'll see about fixing that. Now once this gap here is filled, okay, and we can put the weather strip on the door, and that'll squeeze against that. This bottom piece here, I got some more rework. If you look here, on the other side of this gap here, it's about 1/2 inch. But as it goes down, it's almost 3/4 of an inch down there. So what I'm going to do is, I got this piece here, and I bent it to curve to match the door, and that's going to weld right there, like that. And that's going to keep that 1/2 inch gap all the way along. And I'm going to trim it so it matches this on the inside in here, and then I'll just fill it. So it'll basically look like this, but it'll just change the curve. It just won't curve as much in here. Originally what I had was this matched the door, but by the time I got welded and everything in, the thing had moved in and I didn't notice it. So it's got to come out, just so this gap here stays all the same, all the way down along the side of the door. You can see how wider it gets down in the bottom here. So I gotta move it in almost half the distance, maybe 3/8 of an inch in. So this surface here is going to be extended in, and I'll get that done. Okay, here's the door jamb, and I wasn't going to put any weather stripping on the bottom of the door here, but then I decided I should. So what I originally was going to do, I was going to take a piece of weather stripping that I pulled it off the Jeep doors, that 92 Laredo that I used all the other parts for. Well, this is the molding that goes around the door. So I took it, and I took a cut piece off, and I took this corner here and I flattened it out so it looks like that. So I flattened it out, and then I was gonna mount it against that and weld a plate from here over to here, and then just put some screws and hold it down. But then I started thinking, well, why even bother do that? Why not just leave it like this and press it down? So I got another piece here, and if you push it all in, that, push it all down, you know, that don't look too shabby. So if I can close the door, up against it, so it's okay. So that's not too bad. So then I started thinking, well, what about the other side over here? And you can see I already cut it off, because this, talk about one step forward, 2 steps back. I already had this all on. This door jamb was mounted here like that. That fitted just inside there, and it was flush. You know, it was flush like that. The door closed perfect. So what I was going to do, I was going to take this piece here and mount it like that, and just put screws here all the way up. But then down here I would have a press on, and up here I would have the screws and it wasn't going to line up. So I had to backtrack. I had to cut this all back, the door jamb all back off again, but just leave this piece here. Now this is where it's going to press on here now. So not only is it going to press on down here, I had to cut it here, bend it back so this, I'm going to take this off, so this here would line up with that. So when I press this one down here and the other piece would press on there, I'll just cut it at a 45 in the corner there and glue it. So now my rubber molding will go all the way up the side, down along the bottom, and I'll weld in the door jamb again, and then when I get to the top up here, I'll leave this piece. Well, I'll come over and I'll have a piece just like this that it'll press on, so that it'll sit like that. So it'll just press on all the way around. Over here, it'll press on here and down, all the way down. And that's all I got to do. Now I got to weld. I'm going to weld the jamb back all in and move this. This has got to come out a ½ inch because I'm sinking this back. I'm sinking it back a ½ inch, so the weather strip will press on here. So I got to move the pin back out. More work, but it'll be nicer in the long run. I am trying to build the top piece up on the top of the door now. So what I got to do is I have to extend this plate here that the weather stripping fits on. I have to extend it along the top. I have to extend it along the top here, all along here, and to the front of the door. So what I decided to do was come over with a flat piece and then come down with a piece of this. So I was also thinking of adding some square tubing to the roof for strength. So what I decided to do was I took some square tubing and you cut 3 sides of it, this side, and that side, and you leave that side alone so you can bend it. And as you can see, it's got a curve to it. So what I did was I stuck it alongside the top of the door. Let's close the door so I can get in and see here. And you can see, you know, it follows the curve of the top of the door pretty well, just by cutting it and then bending a little bit. Now this back part here, this section where I really didn't, I haven't bent it to the shape of the body because that's going to go back in here yet. But I just bent it a little bit just to get it to fit, and then I'll bend it back to come up along the body. And then what I'll do is, once it fits the body well, I'll weld all these cuts up so it'll stay in that position, and then I'll weld it to the top of the door, and that'll give me some strength along this top of the body, top of the door edge here, this door edge, the body. That'll give me some strength in that. Plus it'll give me something to weld the weather stripping piece to, and I can always add to this strip, you know, maybe either wood or more tubing going across the top of the roof and to the other side, to the other one that's going to be on the passenger door. So it'll just give me some more strength to this thing. That'll give me some strength. Okay, driver's side is pretty much done. It's just a fine details to do, clean it up and paint it. But there's the piece that we put under the door pillar, that's in. There's the strip here that the weather stripping fits on, and you come up the top We can make it out here. We put in a drip rail. I don't know if you can really make it out here, but it comes along here. There's not much room for where I'm filming here. I'm stuck inside the shed. But we put ran the drip rail down here, right, and ran it into this body line here. And just make it out. Just ran it. It was like a continuation of the arc. And what I did there, that was about a 3/8 strip. It was 1/8 thick, 3/8 strip, and I just bent it to the shape I wanted all the way down and welded that to the body. And then I took this little 1/2-inch piece of 16 gauge and bent that the same shape and then welded that. And then I'm going to seam seal the inside. And then when I get time to paint it up, we'll just paint it right up. And that'll be done. Okay, and there's the, put the weather stripping out of the Jeep. Press it onto that strip that I welded in there. And it comes all the way up. You can see here, the door will just push right against it. It's nice and soft. It comes right up around the corner over there. And what I did was right here in the corner, there's just a square off. So I just for the heck of it, I kind of thought it'd be different. I just rounded off that corner, and I rounded off the door too to match it. So when the door is closed, it's nice and the weather strip fits right in there, and it's nice and tight. Okay, now this is the inside. Looking at the driver's door. You see they've got the door pin in, and that side of the jamb is, as you can see, some of the weather stripping there. And this piece up here, that's that square tubing that I welded, that I cut and bent to match the body. I had mentioned, I meant to say that you weld it in on top of the door, but I said meaning on the body above the door. I said that I weld it on top of the door. It doesn't weld to the door. It welds above the door, and that's what becomes the door gap on the top. And onto that you weld the piece that holds the weather stripping. So what I'll do is I'll make another one of those for the passenger side to match, and then I'll run square tubing across the roof line for support in a couple of spots. And that's the driver's side. Now the only thing I have left to do over here, other than, you know, sanding down the Bondo wherever I got filler and whatnot, and primer and paint, is to put in the inner door panel. I'm still up in the air about whether I'm going to use electric windows or I'm going to use the original crank windows. I'm not sure yet. I don't know. But that's the passenger side, and I just got to duplicate everything over there onto the driver's side. I mean, onto the that's the driver's side. I got to duplicate everything over to the passenger side, I mean.